Getting engaged is a moment worth cherishing. A one-of-a-kind ring that you design at Blue Nile can help your love sparkle. Just choose your diamond and setting. When you've found the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Finding the right engagement ring can be nerve-wracking. At Blue Nile, you'll have the expert guidance needed and a diamond guarantee that ensures you're getting the highest quality at the best price. Cherish all of life's moments and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Man United 1, Fulham 2. I was so sure that you were chatting out of your ass on the last episode when you said Fulham were going to beat us, and they did. So yeah, I'm the ass in this case, and yeah, we took the L. It was. Welcome back to the social media derby. A couple of weeks off, so we're back with an episode. Jonts, you've been away. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, mate, not doing too bad. Just a little bit jet lagged, a little bit tired, but yeah, that performance against Sheffield United definitely helped wake me up a little bit.
I was going to say, it would be hard to be snoozy through an absolute 6-0 battering. So yeah, you should be alive and kicking now. But before we get into today's episode, where we've got quite a few games to actually cover, since we took a week off. Before we get into it, for those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share if you can, leave your comments down below, because we'll obviously be touching on the good, the bad, and the ugly with both of our teams over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, there's lots to share your opinions about. And for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the podcasting platforms, please follow, give us a 5-star review if you can. It all helps with the algorithms and getting us in front of more people and growing the podcast. But let's get into it then, Johns. Before we get into this game week's fixtures and results, let's cover the games we missed from last week as well. So first of all, we'll start off with the Saturday game. Man United 1, Fulham 2. I was so sure that you were chatting out of your ass on the last episode when you said Fulham were going to beat us, and they did. So yeah, I'm the ass in this case, and yeah, we took the L. It was absolutely disgusting performance, by the way. I'm still kind of angry about it. I'm more angry about that one than the City game yesterday. Yeah, losing 2-1 at home. We'd built up a bit of momentum, even if the performances weren't great. We were getting good results, and yeah, we threw it all away at home, and it was just an all-round disgusting performance. I don't think we really we activated for the last 10-15 minutes of the first half after being poor for the first half an hour, and then we kind of repeated the same thing in the second half. Slow to every ball. We just didn't look like we had any answers. And Fulham didn't really do like a back-to-the-wall job. They actually had the ball, passed it around. They kind of bopped us off the pitch without, doing it in a kind of City-Liverpool kind of way. They had a lot of the ball, and it was just, it was probably a fair result for them to win 2-1 in the end. It stings because you always have, as a United fan, you always have that bit of hope when you get like a late equaliser. You might go on to get a late winner. We've done it lots of times before, even when we've been playing absolutely smelly. But this time we got a bit of our own medicine. Iwobi. It was so funny. I was looking on social media, yeah. Everyone was like, oh, thank God, all the good chances are falling to Iwobi because he can't hit a barnyard with a banjo. And what do you know? Adama Traore comes on with his baby oil and just glides past Maguire and slips it into Iwobi, and he tucks it away, and we lose 2-1. But yeah, absolutely shocking performance. Terrible result. And in the space of 2 weeks, from being 3 points behind Tottenham and like 4 or 5 points behind Villa in fourth, we're now, I don't know, must be like 12 or 11 points behind Villa, and yeah, a bunch of points behind Spurs, and now top 4 basically looks like it's out of reach. But yeah, what did you make of it, first of all, with your correct prediction? I'm guessing you want to gloat a bit.
No, no gloating. I think the major thing is that I think Fulham, ever since I said they were going to go down, have just played really, really well. And the main reason why I went for that prediction is just because of how well they played against us. So both, home and away this season, they've given us some big problems. And it's exactly what you kind of said. They don't park the bus. They don't just set up just because you're a better team than them, set up to kind of try and grab scraps here and there. They actually do try to play a little bit, and they're also super physical, which is generally speaking quite a difficult type of team to play against. So from my point of view, it's not that Man United are terrible, but it's just that Fulham have this kind of giant killer vibe about them this season. I think they've given a couple of really good teams a hard match. So yeah, I think from your point of view, obviously you can't be very happy with it when you scored that last kind of late goal. You just start getting like McTominay flashbacks where he's going to come on and like head one into the top corner in like the 96th minute. But to have it go against you the other way and for it to be Iwobi of all people must kind of sting. But obviously Iwobi had a pretty good match the whole time, right? Like, of course,
he's a good player.
He's not as clinical as he should be. And now that I say that, he'll probably turn into Matis Cunha and just start banging goals in now that I've said that. But generally speaking, yeah, he's not. He can do everything but that. So to have him get that winner is kind of nice for him, especially away. Yeah, away at Old Trafford is a good way to win. So for you guys, I can't. It's got to be a bit heartbreaking. But at this point, I mean, how optimistic can you be that you're just going to keep on going on runs of just crazy results and winning all the time? Right, there's going to be a setback at some point. And I think it wasn't a great performance from either team, but
I thought Fulham were good. Could have gone either way. I really think Fulham were good. They deserved the win. They didn't house it. It wasn't like lucky or anything. On the balance of play, either they deserved to win it like they did, or a draw would have been probably quite kind to us. But maybe they won it on points by a point or two, and it wasn't a complete domination. But I agree with you, man. They're physical. They've actually got a lot of pace on the counter, and that Muniz guy that I was kind of taking the piss out of as well on the last episode, man, he gave our centre back some trouble. So yeah, they had some real standout performances. Like you said, Iwobi was really good. He just can't finish, but at that time he really took it. He took his goal really nicely. But the funny thing is, you mentioned McTominay. After Maguire got the equaliser, I think McTominay slid in, and he's got like an opportunity to square it for someone who was in the middle. I can't remember now who was in the middle, but I think it was either Rashford or another attacker was in the middle for him to square it, and he kind of like had a shot come cross that kind of flashed across the goal rather than actually just cutting it back. And it's like that Spurs game where McTominay gets a last minute chance to do something, and he's either going to score them like Villa, like Brentford, or he's going to miss them. Like he's not an ultra clinical striker. So more times than not, he's probably going to miss those opportunities. And this time, instead of drawing it like we did with Spurs, we can contrive to lose the game on the counter. But yeah, actually in that game, I thought Maguire was decent. Obviously, there was the whole chat about should he have taken down Traore when he was getting past him on the halfway line for their goal, but he was on a yellow card, so I guess he thought if he gets sent off, he would have missed the either the Forest game or the Mac Derby. And I understand it's a split second decision. I probably would have preferred him to just chop him down, but that's hindsight's 2020. I thought Onana was decent, and we'll get to it in the City game as well. I think he's actually put a couple of string of performances where he's looked fairly comfortable, which is all I crave with Onana. I don't need him to do flashy things. I just want him to do simple things well and don't chuck it in his own net. And I thought he was decent against Fulham. He made the saves that he should have made, and he didn't really have a chance with either one of the goals, really. But I think the big standout performance in a negative way was Bruno. He was so bad in that game. Like all the things that Nash came on and talked about, and I mentioned the following week, just reared their ugly head. Like I'm sure you saw there were a couple of clippable things that went around social media. One of him like just randomly getting like a brain freeze and like hitting a ball first time up in the sky to no one, like when he had a couple of simple passes. And then I think Fulham's TikTok took the piss out of him as well and clipped him up, dropping to the ground and doing his usual S-Housery stuff, pretending to be injured and then getting up and then pretending to be injured again. So, yeah, man, it's not really a great captain's performance. And, yeah, he really needs to fix up big time. Otherwise, like a lot of people have said, who I kind of classify as being kind of a bit extreme on some of their opinions about some of the players, I think at the end of the season, like I think he's got a year left on his deal. Like next season will be his last year on his deal, or we've got an option. I think serious decisions from the new ownership will have to come in on a bunch of our big players and high earners. And I think Bruno shouldn't evade that. He should be part of that audit as well. Because you guys have all said it, right? And a lot of United fans have backed him religiously because they, he's our man, blah 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 blah. But once the stats drop and he's not scoring and he's not assisting anymore, and he's the output's not there, you can't really ignore the bad performances or like the scattergun approach, and like you've said before on the pod, just like taking really high risk choices and low possibility of success passes and stuff, all the things that you don't want your creative player to do. Frequently he kind of does. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer for a bunch of our high profile players, and I think that will include Bruno as well. But let's move on, John. Let's go to the Arsenal game of that game week. Completely opposite fortunes for you guys. At home to Newcastle, 4-1, absolutely battered them. I bet you loved that, seeing or what do you call them, shark teeth, get absolutely hammered, and Newcastle holding 4 at the Emirates. I know you guys probably feel like you owe them one after the St. James's Park fixture early in the season with all the controversy. But yeah, what did you make of it?
Well, it was the opposite of how I thought the game was going to go, just because of the fact that like Newcastle last time we played against them were really defensively solid and actually kind of played that low block type of style against us, and then obviously grabbed a late goal that was controversial. So I was expecting to see kind of more of the same. The major difference being that they didn't have Joe Linton to kind of do his typical, S-housery that he does. And without that kind of physical element in the midfield, I felt like they were a little bit stale. And so whenever it kind of just seemed like it was our game to play, right? Like if we were going to play well, then we were going to win. If we were going to play badly, then it was going to come out a draw or maybe like a very narrow victory. But we just keep pumping goals in, man, and I'm here for it because our goal difference now is mental. Obviously, including the Sheffield United game, but I'm here for it. And I don't know what's going on here, but like Jorginho and Havertz and all these dons that I have previously kind of said, playing the right type of games, don't play them all the time. This would have been a game where I'd be like, no, not playing any of them. I'm going to go back to, I guess the style that we played most frequently against those low block teams and where we got some success. But man, I was completely wrong. And, Kiwior as well. I don't know what's going on with my man, but he's coming out playing left back like he was born to play it. And even Havertz is coming on getting assists and goals and stuff like that. So, I mean, you got to hold that Newcastle, man. I don't know what you guys were playing at to come and try and play against us. I think you should know out of everyone, like, the way to beat us is the way that you've played against us previously. But they came out and just let us play. And when they do that, it's a long day. It's a long day for you. So, I mean, Jorginho, Havertz, Saka all played really, really well. And I think when you get one or two of our players playing well, it becomes a long day, right? Like if you start seeing
that.
But I mean, like if you start seeing like a couple of our important players kind of miss things here, miss things there, it could turn into a Porto type of night. So from that point of view, when you've got our two most worrying players in Jorginho and Havertz actually playing well against you, it's a long day. It's a long day.
But like I was saying, man, that list is short. Like we just talk about the top 3 maybe players' performances or most notable performances in a bad way with Bruno, for example, in the last fixture. But we could have listed 80% of your team in that Newcastle game. Odegaard was unbelievable again. Like his form has been unreal. Your whole back line was stellar. Like I know Willett got the late goal, and everyone will be I know your defense will be annoyed to lose a clean sheet, but Gabriel again, like he basically forces the first Botman own goal on set pieces. Every single set piece, you look dangerous as hell. Kiwior's turned into the Polish Ben White. He suddenly looks really comfortable at left back, which is kind of crazy because when he was first put in there, I know not only you but any Arsenal fan I know was just like, "What are we doing? He can't play left back. That's not the vibe." and he comes up with a goal from corners. I think you guys have scored 19 goals from set plays this season, which you're trending on. You're on track to score the most in Premier League history. I think Liverpool got like 27 or something like in 2013 or something like that. But you guys are on course to even surpass that, which would be crazy considering, all of the chat before about Arsenal in years gone by is kind of about your lack of physicality and wanting to pass the ball in the net and all this kind of stuff. And now you've got mountains, man. Your whole back line is huge. Declan Rice is a bit of a unit. Havertz is pretty tall. If you take Jorginho, Saka, and Martinelli out, everyone else in your team's like 6'2" or something, like 6'1" at least. So you've built like a really imposing, strong team, kind of in a similar way to City, I guess. Kind of like before you know it, you've just got loads of like absolute units in your team. So I thought you guys played amazingly in that game, and you're totally right. The first point about the midfield, I think was key. I think Joe Linton not being there and putting himself around contributed a bit, but I also thought that little trio of Rice, Jorginho, and Odegaard is really humming. Like it's a really good midfield trio actually, and I think it's going to be hard work for. Sounds absolutely mental, but I think it's going to be hard work for Partey to get back in that midfield now. The way Jorginho is playing, I can only see it coming the opposite way. Like before, we used to say, "Oh, maybe Jorginho needs to come in a game where, a team isn't super physical and he's going to get loads of the ball and blah blah blah." Whereas actually, I think you probably only bring Partey in if you play a really really physical team. Otherwise, just keep Jorginho in there. He's the perfect foil for Rice and Odegaard. They're both dropping deep and coming and getting the ball and driving with it and conducting the play. And it's got you guys absolutely singing off the same hymn sheet right now. I think it must be like 30 plus goals in like 5 games or something you guys have scored. It's absolutely crazy return. And your goal difference has got to what, like plus 44 or 45 or something like that. And it was probably like 25 or 26, like at the back end of last year. So unbelievable game, man. I think always love to see Newcastle get a spanking. So I was definitely supporting you guys in that game as well. But I was quite surprised, like you said. I thought Newcastle were going to come low block, or at least.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Try and stifle you guys, and they just had no chance. But, it seemed like it was a flash and it was 2-0. Like that Jorginho ball over the top. Martinelli. You have to give Martinelli some credit as well. I don't think he had the greatest game, like compared to some of the other guys we mentioned. He was good, but he wasn't quite like the top tier. But that run from out to in, like you were really missing in some of the other games, especially getting the Porto game and a few of the other ones. A lot of your wings were staying out wide. Him making that run, Jorginho playing it over the top, it was all great movement. And then you got to give King Kai some plaudits as well. Peeled off the defender, tucked it away. All of this stuff is like stuff you're not used to seeing from a lot of these players. So Arsenal fans, got to be a good time for you, man. Let's go on to the FA Cup game then quickly, real quick. It's my only bit of joy on this episode, so I'll revel in it. Nottingham Forest 0, Man United 1. Again, not a great game, I have to be honest. I was like dipping in and out of it. The first half, like Antony hits the bar. God knows how he misses that chance. McTominay, like we're just so wasteful again with the opportunities. And then when you get into that half time, you think, oh God, could be one of those days where, comes off Origi's ass or someone hits it and it deflects and goes in and we lose it 1-0 and we're out of the cup. But second half, again, more chances missed. They missed a bunch. Owanihi missed some. Origi missed one. Bruno just kept looking like he wanted to pass it in the net. Don't know what he was doing. Like the amount of chances he had to like put his foot through it, and he always tried to like side foot it and like p-roller it in. Don't know what happened. And then Casemiro late winner. it feels like we've gone back to early part of the season when Casemiro wasn't injured and he was coming up with all these important goals when we weren't really playing well, and we nick it and we're into the next round. But yeah, it was an absolutely terrible game. When you're talking about notable player performances, it's hard. I feel like Casemiro obviously scored. Bruno, even if he was wasteful, he was actually creating stuff in this game, and he wasn't as bad on the ball. Um, but yeah, he needs to. It feels like he's forgotten how to finish. Like some of the finishing he used to do in the early seasons at United doesn't seem like he can do it anymore. But I think Varane was really good as well. I think out of all these results that we've had in the last couple of weeks, and losing two is pretty bad. Um, but I actually feel like parts of our defense have been all right. I think Varane was really good in this game. He headed everything, which you don't really expect that of him, right? Like you kind of think Varane's going to be more of the quick, silkier one of our two defenders if he's playing with Evans or Maguire, right? But actually, he gets his head on a lot of crosses and he puts himself about as much as he can. So I thought he was really good, and Delo was good bombing forward. But yeah, not really a great game. I don't know, Johnson. Did you manage to catch any of it? What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, we had our eye on it, and obviously seeing that late 89th minute winner was frustrating for me because I did want you to lose. But I've got to ask, like, what did you think of the whole kind of cause for the goal to not stand, right? Because obviously I think they were comparing it against the Liverpool goal where I think Endo was
Oh yeah,
stood in
yeah,
an offside position. He kind of was blocking off a defender, and then they didn't give the goal for Liverpool. And I think Morgan Gibbs White was quite furious that they gave it for
yeah.
you because I think was it Varane who ended up being possibly in that kind of Endo like position. What did you
Mm.
make of it? Did you think that should have stood? Do you think, generally speaking, like according to the rules, is that a goal, or should it be a goal, or what did you think?
Yeah, because it's that cool. Because we got one at Fulham. Talking about Fulham, when we played them at Craven Cottage, I think Garnacho scored an early goal when we were in Stoke. Do you remember that time we watched it in the pub? And it was a similar thing. They said Maguire blocked off someone who was running to block off McTominay. No, sorry, it was Garnacho who centered it for McTominay to score that goal. And they were saying that Maguire blocked the guy who was going to come and stop the ball and was going to be in that zone to stop the ball going to Garnacho. So they ruled it out. What did they call it? I think they called it a subjective offside.
Yeah,
When someone,
yeah.
it's not like there's no,
Whether they
there's
are or are not involved in play is like the subjective part of it.
yeah. There's no like rule that they're pointing to. It's totally down to whether the referee and the VAR believe that that player stopped another player from being in the exact position where the ball was going to land. So actually, with the Liverpool one, I thought it was quite harsh, but I kind of understand it because I think Colwell was on Van Dijk, and then Endo blocked Colwell following Van Dijk to stop the ball. Whereas I think with the Varane one, I think actually the player who was marking Casemiro wasn't the one that he blocked. Like Casemiro was further ahead, so of course maybe that player was going to come round and get to Casemiro afterwards, but he was never marking Casemiro at any point. But either way, I hate that rule. That rule stinks. I don't like. All right, I don't really. I can try and find reasons to say they were different because I do think they weren't exactly the same. But ultimately, a subjective offside is a subjective offside. So I would prefer not to see any of those goals ruled out. Like
See, I
otherwise,
sit on the opposite. I think they should all be ruled out. Like I feel like if you're in a pack of players, like even if it's like a corner, for example, if you're stood in an offside position and blocking the goalkeeper or doing anything in and around the ball, I feel like they should all be offside because I feel like you start getting into sticky positions where like people will kind of game the system a little bit, and of course then it becomes like a subjective thing. And if the referee doesn't give it straight away, they're probably not going to pull it back up. They're just going to say whatever the referee decided is what it is. I personally think that they should all be out offside, right? Like because I think as a defender, thinking in my way of thinking, like as a defender, I should be allowed to follow the man. And if, naturally, if I come together with somebody else that wasn't in an offside position, then fair enough, it's on me. But if somebody's like stood in an offside position and then comes back, gets in my way, and I miss the guy that I'm trying to defend, manager's going to come and ask me what the hell happened, what you doing. But at the same time, I feel like I should be. It's not as if I should be like given a clear path to defend my man, but I shouldn't have an offside player kind of just stood there tactically to try and get my way. And I'm not saying that any of the teams actually stood up to do that. it could have been an accident. But I just think
Nah, they do it on purpose.
For the sake of cleaning up the game, I would just say, you know what, stop doing all of that. Like, you can't stand in front of people. You can't do that to goal. Like, even the goalkeeper stuff, like, as much as we're getting the benefit of it because we do it to people, I wouldn't want to see that happen in the game at all, because you're purposefully like blocking. What did we used to call it? We used to call it like an obstruction, right? Like when we were playing football in Sunday League, we'd say, oh, it's an obstruction if you just kind of put your body over the ball and no one can get it. And I kind of feel like if you're doing that and you're not interested in the ball at all, and you're just there to block somebody else off, I kind of feel like we're getting into like game in the system kind of territory. So I sit on the opposite side, but I think, as you say, like, if they've made it so subjective and they don't have a specific rule to say that it should or shouldn't be, then I feel like you've got to give it every single time, right? Like, it's just part and parcel. There's no rule to call it out. Then you should just have to give it. So that's where I kind of sit in between the two. Like, if Liverpool getting theirs taken away from them, then United should get theirs as well. But at the same time, if they haven't been clear, if PGMOL haven't been clear about it, then you got to let all of them stand, in my mind. So that's where I kind of sit on it.
No, I agree with you. I think ideally you'd want it to just be one rule for everyone, and just everyone applies it universally. But I think the reason why they're trying to do it the way they are is because, and the reason why I guess it's subjective and it's in the name, is because it's what you said. Endo, like I said earlier, blocks Colwell, who's definitely on Van Dijk, and that's his man, and he's following him, and he's going to be where Van Dijk's going to be. Maybe he doesn't win the header, right? Like, we can't guarantee that, but you've completely denied him that 50-50 duel, obstructing him, exactly as what you said. Varane does that to someone else who's in a bigger pack, but isn't on Casemiro. If you see where the ball lands in the end, Casemiro's actually 3 or 4 players away from the guy that Varane blocks. Like, ultimately, they're doing this. Endo and Varane are doing the same thing, right? But one is definitely blocking a player who was with the man who scores, and one is blocking someone who might eventually get away from the other people that he's marking and go and stop Casemiro. You either have to rule them all out, like you said, because a block is a block, obstruction's obstruction, and you're denying that opportunity for anyone to come. And I kind of agree with you. Like, you shouldn't really be allowed to do that. But then I think they're getting into it, and they did it in Monday Night Football, right? Carragher and Thierry Henry went over it today, talking about some of the goals that Arsenal have been scoring from set plays. And they ran the tape and looked at how the goals came about. And nearly all of your goals from set plays come from, I think it was Kirill, Trossard, and another Don, basically running screens on the opposition player's best header, whoever it is. I think it was who's the Danish guy for Joachim Andersen from Crystal Palace. They ran a screen on him and basically blocked him from backpedaling for 2 of the goals he scored from set pieces. And then they showed another one where Kirill did the same thing to the West Ham guy. I forgot who was again.
Yeah, but those ones that haven't got someone in an offside position, like if every single time there's someone in an offside position, and this is where the only other thing I'll say about it is that you don't know if they're playing man marking or zonal marking. Like, the way that who's marking who is up on the defensive team to decide, right? So I think there's too much of a knock-on effect, right? If there's 3 people, if you're not directly the man chasing the other guy, then it's I kind of get it.
The point is, he's not in the same zone.
But I mean, like, if they're if they're affecting play and who gets to choose who, that because that one person's blocked off, somebody else might have moved over this way and then let another man free. You see what I'm saying? So it's not as if you can just directly mark someone and not be affected by anyone else around you, because a lot of the systems that these guys play is, it's zonal plus man marking. So you've got everyone's marked up, but then you've got a couple people in certain zones to try and block other things from happening. So that's why I'm just saying, like, it gets really sticky if we start trying to say, all right, because you're not touching the exact man that touches the ball, then it's not offside. I think they should just clean it up and say, you know what, if you're in an offside position and you block any of the players in the vicinity of the ball, it's offside. But that's just how I think the game should be played. That's not necessarily how they've defined it today. I think that's why I say it's fine to stand.
You're going to screw people either way, right? Like, you'll get decisions like this where you're making a subjective call, saying, for example, like you said, you make a good point. You don't know how they're defending, so they could be playing zonal, flat zonal, or they could be playing a mixture of both. And you can't say for certain that person isn't going to be in the zone that the player ends up scoring the goal from. You can't. That's why it's subjective. But then at the same time, if someone accidentally does block him off, which I don't think, by the way, I don't think Varane's was accidental. I think he did it on purpose, right? His purpose of being in that position is to block someone. Endo's the same thing. And even though they're not offsides, right, the corner stuff that I'm talking about, they're purposely doing that. That is a tactic that's being brought in because it gains an advantage.
Exactly, and that's my issue with it. That's they're taking advantage of the rule, and I think
if someone does it accidentally, then you kind of screw them, right? If you just say it flat line, right? But I hear you.
But then that's where I'm going to be like, you know what? You know the rule.
Tough tease, yeah, exactly. Yeah, fair enough. I hear you, man. I hear you. I get it. If I was a Forest fan and you see the Carabao Cup final like 1 week earlier, and you see your call with the Varane stuff, and there's parallels. Like I said, there's maybe some nuances. Maybe it's slightly different in terms of who's marking who. But again, that's conjecture. That's just like what we're saying based off what we see, and we don't know what people are doing tactically. I get it. You'd be livid. So. But it is what it is. Like you just said, tough tease. We're through. You're out, so hold it. And in the next round, we're playing the Scousers at home, so that'll be fun. The only hope we've got is that we end up playing their kids, but that might be embarrassing, and we might do a Chelsea and lose to them. So that will be really hard to take. But I think the fact that we're basically going to be 6th or lower now. I don't see us catching Spurs or Villa based on the results that we've got, plus the fact we've got to play Liverpool at home. I think we've got to go Brighton away. We've got you at home. We've got some tough games left in the running that we're not guaranteed to win or get points in. So we'll definitely keep dropping more points. And Spurs and Villa might drop a few, but there's no chance they're going to drop enough for us to get back in. So this FA Cup game is going to mean everything to us. And if we beat Liverpool, that still doesn't mean that much because City will still be in the competition. They've got Newcastle at home, so I'm sure they're going to spag them. And, we can do what we did last season, get all the way to the final. We'll probably still play City and then we hold the L.
If you do, you'll have earned your way there, man, because this is a hard run.
Well, yeah, but I mean, people were getting on to us last season, weren't they? Because we keep getting home draws. We were playing like either lower Prem teams or Championship teams, and everyone said we basically housed our way to the Carabao Cup, or only played good teams we played with Newcastle and whatever. So it's a draw's a draw, isn't it? Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Unless you're City, and then you basically just get like Copenhagen and Yeovil Town and whatever like throughout the whole time.
Knew that was coming.
But that's true, isn't it? We know it. Every Champions League draw, they get bloody Ludogorets and bloody Copenhagen and all. I mean, we got Copenhagen and we went out, but they never get good teams in their draws. And yeah, they'll win this. I mean, the double treble would just be absolutely disgusting. But yeah, I'm not even thinking about what they're doing anymore, to be honest. Until we talk about the game, which is up next. So let's get into this weekend's game.
Yeah,
between Man City and Man United.
What a game it was.
Yeah, I watched it yesterday at the pub with some friends who came to visit from Belgium, and they kept trying to, gaslight me and say, come on, believe, you never know, don't be depressed. You guys could win, blah, blah, blah. And I kept telling him, nah, man, shut up. We're definitely going to lose. I know my team better. And I've chosen not to wear the kit to the pub. I'm just being very humble about what was about to come. And then, what happens? Rashford goes and pile drives one in the first 10 minutes. And they're again gaslighting me. Come on, man. It's okay. Get happy. Get excited. And I'm trying to tell them constantly, no, we need to calm. We need to stay calm. This is way too early. We needed to score in the 88th minute, not the 8th minute. So, kind of what happened just happened. We got absolutely... I don't know. Dominated feels a bit harsh, but like we couldn't hold the ball. So City, obviously, I think nearly every team when they play City understand we're going to have less of the ball. Even a team that gets a lot of possession, like yourself, like Arsenal, like Brighton, they basically know that against City though they'll have less of the ball. Like it'll be closer, but they'll have less of the ball. Like it's just it's an obvious thing. But when you get it, at least you have some belief that your players are going to be able to control the ball, take it down, make a few passes, and actually hold a bit of possession when you get it. And we just weren't able to do that. I was chatting with our mates at the pub. There were, I think, 2 passages of play, one in the first half and one in the second half, where we actually had the ball and we made a string of passes, like maybe 10 to 15 passes. Like other than that, every single time a United player failed to control the ball or got it down, miscontrolled it, laid it off, did a terrible pass to another United player, and we'd either be closed down or lose the ball or pass it out to touch or whatever, and we just give it up and then they'd get the ball back and they'd continue playing it around us and do what they do. But in the first half, I actually thought that compared to how we've played recently, we were quite compact. And I know there's going to be people out there, oh, you parked the bus, you did whatever. But I actually don't think that was the case. We just didn't have massive gaps, and people expected us to do basketball
you played very
football.
narrow. It was really effective. You played really narrow, and you ended up cutting off a lot of the spaces that they try and create in between.
There was
no
spaces.
Center. And
Yeah,
they weren't creating very much off the wings. The only one that they really created that off the wing was the Haaland kind of open goal miss. But yeah, you're really compact and really narrow, which I think ended up working really, really well for you, because it didn't really look like City had a way through that until they kind of adjusted. And after you scored, it just, I don't know what happened. Like, you should have used that to be excited and build momentum, but you ended up kind of just not sitting back, but just letting them come onto you more. And I would have liked to see a bit more transition, a little bit more pushing against them to try and get a second goal, try and, make a bigger gap.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree. I think after we scored the goal, which basically came out of nothing, right? Onana plays a long ball over the top. Bruno makes a nice little run off the side, lays it off. Rashford just absolutely slaps one in, top bins from 25 yards out. It wasn't through like a concerted passage of play, or we weren't
it wasn't
doing anything. But then we still had opportunities, I would say, in that first half, and I was so angry.
Well, yeah, because Rashford can't control the ball, apparently.
Yeah, when Rashford was through, just needs to just softly head it in front of him and somehow tries to head it down with loads of force, and it goes some crazy direction behind him and he spurns that opportunity. Then I think there was another one where we had a 3-on-2 and they played a ball and it missed to, I think, McTominay in the middle, and then Rashford had it on the back post and he mishit it. He tried to finish it and he completely missed the ball. Those were opportunities where you have to be clinical. You have to take those opportunities and score them. And kind of you wouldn't want them to land to anyone else other than Rashford in that forward line, because he's probably the most clinical on the counter out of, Garnacho, McTominay and himself. So it just happened to, that's just basically who Rashford is this season, right? He can score a really good goal. He could score, have a big moment like he did.
It's only a kick, a jump, a block. It's only a serve. It's only a tackle, a run. It's only for the fans. After all, it's only pressure. You got this. Adidas.
But then other moments when you really need him to show a bit of consistency and actually take an easier chance, he just completely flops it. So I actually think still defensively, though, we were good. We were still narrow. We were still compact. Yeah. There were no spaces in the lines. Like you said, we forced them out wide to Doku, who I think Dalot absolutely pocketed, by the way. Doku was absolutely rubbish in that game. And
when you hold off of him and you don't just straight attack him, so he can't get the, because his finisher is the shoulder drop and then out the other way.
Yeah,
and if you kind of sit off him a little bit, he just ends up just passing it backwards over and over again. So you played him perfectly. To be honest with you, you played a lot of the wingers really, really well. It was just that constant movement of all of them and swapping around that maybe did you in a little bit later.
That was Foden, bro.
Yeah. His floating, right? Because he started off on the right and then he came into the middle and then he went out on the left where he got his second goal. That floating and constant movement and switching of the defender, the switching of the attackers is hard as a defender to try and who am I actually marking at this point? So that's the issue.
We move things around, right?
So you did, but I mean, it's not easy to try and deal with four attackers that can basically play in any position they want to play it in the top line. It's
no.
The only one you know who's going to be there is going to be Haaland. You know that he's going to be in that position over and over again. But everybody behind him is just constant movement. When Julian Alvarez came on, movement again. I can imagine it's not an easy thing to play against. But yeah, but getting ahead of myself, obviously, I think we've got to talk about that Haaland miss, man. My God, he's doing his best Darwin Núñez impression. to somehow knock that over
I
the
don't know
bar.
what he was doing.
I think he should have gone with his head. I was thinking, like,
Yeah,
why are
that's
you
what I
not
was
going
saying.
at it with your head? Like, it wasn't that low, and he ended up just,
Yeah.
I don't know what he did, just spooning it. I think
He was
Goldbridge
doing
called it. He spooned it over the bar. It was a
Yeah.
madness, because that could have changed a lot of the game. But yeah,
Well,
that was absolutely stank from Haaland.
I mean, in the end, I actually don't think it would have changed up. But I understand what you're saying, but because they scored the equaliser within 10 minutes of the second half. Like, it was effectively the same impact, right? Foden scoring that goal.
Essentially.
It just piled more pressure on us. But I actually don't think the equaliser, whether it was Haaland's goal or Foden's goal, it didn't really change the course of the game too much. They still had a lot of the ball. They were still probing. We were still, I feel like, until the 80th minute, because let's be real, Foden's goal was just as much of a wonder goal as Rashford's one. He shimmied.
That first one was unbelievable.
I was angry with Lindelof because, this is the thing, right? So I think Dalot played Doku perfectly because he showed Doku the only space where Doku has like his little special move, right? His jinky majinky was, like you said, he drops the shoulder and shimmies right. But that's because he tries to basically sell people on the fact he's going to go out wide. Dalot Dalot completely blocked off out wide and said, "Come on then, shimmy and come in, and I'll follow you." And then he got him every single time, right? There's a couple of times Doku managed to do the little shimmy, but then Dalot was onto him quickly and stopped it, or stopped him from doing anything, so he had to lay it off.
Yeah, it's a matter of timing.
We were joking in the pub that Doku was doing his best Jack Grealish impression. So he'd get the ball, he tried the shimmy, when he realised it was not happening because Dalot was on him, he just ended up passing everything sideways backwards, and he was completely ineffective. And the thing is, with Lindelof, I thought he had a decent first half. I think Foden still managed to like peel off him a few times, and it was obvious that Lindelof cannot play left back, right? He's clearly not a left back. When he went to centre back, he actually looked all right. Like, I felt like him and Varane dealt with Haaland just as well as Evans and Varane dealt with Haaland in the first half. But the key was, I don't know why he showed Foden onto his left. Like, he's obviously going to cut in and go for his left. I'm not saying Foden doesn't have a right foot, but it's very obvious that he's going to cut in, right, as the like inside forward and try and take a shot with his left. You have to block that off and make him go out wide. For whatever reason, he doesn't do it well. Foden comes in, wonder goal. There's nothing you can do about it, right? It's
unbelievable goal, yeah.
It's a stinky goal. But then the second goal, and we were talking about it in the pub as well, you could tell, man, bro, we were so tired.
You know what? Yeah, you didn't track him off that 1-2 at all.
But I could see at the end of the first half, I was like, man, it looks like we're getting knackered. And it's understandable. You don't have the ball. You're chasing shadows. You're being super compact. You're doing the this compact way of playing that is going to work, or is the only way of potentially working. You're going to be knackered. And think about the ages of some of the players on the pitch. We've got some youngsters, and we've got like a really crazy range of very young players and like very old players together. None of which are probably the right age to just go through it and be able to deal with that kind of pace. And we were blowing by the end of the first half. And in the second half, I feel like it followed the same pattern. Like, Foden's goal is a wonder goal. I don't think it's like a brilliant bit of play or anything. Like, there's no patterns or anything. He just shimmies in and bangs it in the top corner. Nothing you can do.
Or it's an anti-City goal. It's not the goal that you expect City to score. Yeah,
never. But the second goal is. And the second goal happens. And I'm not having to go at Kambwala because I feel like he's decent, man. I actually quite like him as a player. And maybe we could have gone to that formation earlier than like maybe having Lindelof in there. But as soon as Dalot went to the right, to the left and went to left back, obviously Kambwala is not natural right back. He's come in as a sub. Our midfielders are absolutely blowing by that point, and they don't follow the runners. Manu gets sucked in. They do a little 1-2 and boom, it's done. And there's nothing really you can do about that, really. I mean, well, obviously, I
think Onana could have done a little better on the save though, because he did end up getting like somewhat of a hand to it.
Yeah. Actually, the guys at the pub were also saying like maybe he could have put his foot on it, and went with like De Gea kind of style, put his foot out, and then you would have probably been able to react quicker and save it because it wasn't in the corner.
No,
it was definitely savable.
And there was a left footer coming from the left side across the goal. So like angles wise, it's coming from the best position for you to try and cut it off with a foot or a hand. But Yeah, no, I think it was a shot goal. Really, like I'm not going to put too much blame on on the goalkeeping. I think like tracking the man is the basic thing that you should
Yeah,
be doing. I think Casemiro just wasn't on it to be able to do that. I think it's harsh on people to say Mainu because Mainu, as you said, he got sucked in. He was too far to the right. So by the time he was over there was no chance he was going to come back and get it. So it was really all on Casemiro to try and do something maybe underhanded, just use his experience to try and block, Foden off after the run or something. Because
yeah.
yeah, when you start getting into that much space, like you're leaving things down to Onana, which is not something you really want to do.
It's a
In
mismatch, isn't
general,
it? Let's be
yeah.
honest. Where Casemiro, who I thought was decent in the game, right? I don't think he was bad. I think
Yeah, no, he
really,
wasn't bad. He was leggy by
really
that
disciplined, really disciplined. But yeah, leggy Casemiro. We were talking about earlier in the season. A fully fit Casemiro was getting run off, right?
Yeah.
Cunha, all these dons were running off him at every single moment. It seemed like in every game.
Yeah.
And then you put a tired Casemiro, and it's a mismatch against Foden, who's still got energy, who's like scored a wonder goal, who's got a little bit of momentum, runs off him, and he does what he does. Like I agree with you, Onana could probably do better, but at the same time, it goes back to what I said earlier about Onana. I'm not expecting him to pull off wonder saves. At this point, I don't even care. I just want him to not make howlers. If he can just make the saves that he should make, and then he can be effective like he was with the Bruno ball over the top and do stuff. Like I like his game like that. Then I'm fine. I'll be completely happy with him as a goalie. Obviously, I would love to have a goalie who's going to do Alisson wonder saves and whatever, but he's not that goalie.
Yeah.
If you can get him to do what he's good at and maximize that, which is playing the ball out, suck people in, play the ball over the press, do the things that we saw him do at Inter, I'm happy, bro. I'm fine with that.
He's
Just
going to be
don't
more
do
like
howlers.
an Edison type keeper than he's
And
gonna be
we
an
say that
Alisson
about
keeper.
Edison too, by the way, right? We always say that about Edison. There are times where Edison is like a hologram and things are like a top class goalie, like
He's
the
saving
top,
them,
would save them or make a wonder save, and he never makes wonder saves. But he's really good on the ball and he can play the way that Pep wants to play. And I think that's our aim with Onana. Just
that's
stop
the ceiling.
chucking him. Stop chucking him in, and we're Gucci. But then there's this stuff about Walker on Rashford.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to talk to you about that because I saw some crazy shouts like that I was a stonewall foul and all this other stuff. So I did want to talk about that with you. The obviously the fast equalizer from Foden. What did you think of that? Was it a foul?
Yeah, I mean, I can see why people would think it's a foul, and it probably is a foul, but it's like a soft one. Like, he makes a bit of contact with him, but people are talking about like, I don't know what the discourse is around it online because I haven't really watched too much of the post match like social media stuff on the City game. But I think on comms they were talking about his hands on Rashford, but I actually don't think that was it. I actually think there's some contact with his legs, and they kind of cross paths a bit. But I don't think that's not a howler. Like if it's not a foul, it's not a foul. Like it's not an absolute disgrace of a decision. I think if we got the foul, it'd be quite soft. I don't actually think there were any contentious decisions in this game, man. If I'm completely honest, I think the referee did a decent job for once. We're not going to have a VAR segment on him. I feel like it was all right. I think people are like kind of clutching at straws to try and create some controversy about the game. Like it was an open and closed book game. Like we scored a wonder goal, then we kind of just sat back, couldn't control the ball, couldn't counter, and eventually City broke down the door. But I don't think they hammered us. Like I've seen some people, of course, there's all these extreme shouts, oh, United went and parked the bus and this disgrace and City absolutely dominated them and whatever. I'm like, no, I don't actually think it was that way. They're always going to have the ball.
That's City's style, right? They're going to have the majority of possession. It's really about how many chances you give them. And I don't think you gave them a crazy amount of chances. Like I think they probably could have had one, maybe two goals more, but at the same time, the Foden equaliser is not a high percentage type goal either, so that really shouldn't be going in. So from that point of view, I feel like the scoreline ended up being relatively reflective of the chances that the teams had. I think you probably could have done a better job. I don't know if they count towards XG like the Rashford misses, but if they did, I think they would have been relatively high on because the first one where he like heads it through his own legs backwards. I feel like if he controls that, he's got a 1-on-1, which is a very, very high XG opportunity. And then obviously the second one where he misses it was like probably not a super high XG goal, but he definitely could have done better, especially at the quality that Rashford is. So I think I'm not about that whole like domination either, because like domination is like what like what Liverpool did to you last season, or like something else like that, or like what we just did to Sheffield United. This was definitely not that. And I think you definitely had an opportunity to get something from the game. You just, the chances fell to the wrong people. They couldn't take advantage of them, etc., etc. So, yeah, I disagree with the whole shouts about it being domination, because unless people have never watched City before, this is what happens, right? What domination from them is like 100 shots on target, right? And
Yeah,
they can certainly do that if they really want to against a lot of teams. So
yeah,
I don't think it's right to call it domination when if you've actually watched City play before.
But it's just over the top. Like, it's just like I actually would say, where was it? Was it the West Ham game or something? We played at home. We won 3-0, but they had like 25 shots or something, and like those kind of shouts would fit more with that kind of set of statistics off the back of a game. But even then, I don't agree with that, because there's been games where, for example, the Liverpool game, I think they racked up 20 shots against us, but they were all like long rangers with no chance, and they were just like basically spamming long range shots, and then everyone was like, "Oh, United parked the bus and Liverpool dominated and X, Y, Z." Like, I don't like, if you just go off pure stats, then you're not watching the game with your eyes, or you don't have any context about how certain teams play. Then of course it's going to be, oh, this team dominated that team, if you just look at everything like a data analyst. But like, I don't think it was that way. Like, even you're saying like maybe they could have scored 1 or 2 more goals. Let's be real. Foden scores a wonder goal. Haaland scores a goal after Amrabat decides he's just not, like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, it's an absolute howler from Amrabat. Like, so there's one worked goal, and I can't remember like Onana doing miracle saves. Like, I think Haaland missed an open goal, so he should have scored that one. So you're probably still working it out to be like 2-1, 3-1 anyway. Like, I don't think there were like an abundance of chances.
Yeah, but at the same time, then you'd have to take away Rashford's as well, because that was equally as
no,
low
I agree.
probability as.
So it could be like 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. Like,
that's why I say,
like,
I think all things considered, I think the difference between two teams is quite reflective of how the game actually went. Yeah.
It was a fair result in the end. Player wise, like I said, Onana, like, you got to give him some credit. He looked really steady, and he was really good on the ball in that game. I think, like I said, Varane was decent, but obviously by the end of the game, he's just being pulled from pillar to post. He's played 3 games in a week or whatever. Like, he's basically made out of glass, isn't he? So the fact he played out 3 games in a week was amazing. And I pray and hope that we keep him. But yeah, I think it's probably looking unlikely. And then, Dalot I thought was decent. Again, I thought he was really good with the ball. He was like the only player, or one of the only players, that could get the ball down and actually run with it a bit and make solid passes. I don't know what was going on with Garnacho's and Rashford's and Bruno and all the players you would expect and hope to be able to control the ball and pass it. They just couldn't. And Dalot actually managed to. And a Hall of Shame cameo by Amrabat. Like, absolutely Hall of Shame. And I'm seeing all these funny tweets going on socials at the moment with some they got to be kids. I don't know who they can be, but there were kids saying, Amrabat's going to be a better signing for United than Rice is for Arsenal at the beginning of the season. And wow, they're just going off that because in the Conference League, Amrabat had a better game for Fiorentina against Rice in the final. But yeah, boy, those two have gone opposite directions. Rice is out here scoring goals and setting up goals for fun, and Amrabat's out here playing for 10 minutes, giving up last-minute goals. Like, absolutely shocking. And yeah, his loan deal is going to be cut, and I'm going to be very grateful that it will be, because he's had some Hall of Shame cameos when he's come on and played, and he's probably had like 1 or 2 games where he's looked 6 or 7 out of 10. So for you to for us to have that ratio with a guy that we were hanging our hopes on in centre midfield, absolutely smelly. The only silver linings that we didn't buy him last summer and we just loaned him so we can actually sack it off at the end. But yeah, man, before we move on, I'm just going to say top 4, like I said earlier, done. I reckon we'll probably get 6th now. I think we've still got a few points above some of the chasing packs, so we should be okay in 6th. But yeah, we're going to need to manage to win a lot of the winnable games that we have left on the run-in. And then I think we should get 6th, which will be massively disappointing. We're back in the Europa, back in Thursday nights Europa, so that would be great. And then there's stuff about Ten Hag, bro. I don't know if you want to chat about it a little bit. Obviously, all these rumors about Ineos saying that Gary Neville talking about he can't believe Ineos haven't made a decision already on Ten Hag either way to keep or to sack at the end of the season. All these channels now saying that basically Ten Hag has 3 games to save his United career, or that basically Ineos have made the decision already. He's going to lose his job at the end of the season. I can't lie, man. After that, what was it, the Fulham game maybe? Because of how bad it was, I was saying, you know what? It's not my opinion, but the reality is it might be Ten Hag out. Like, I'm not saying Ten Hag out, but I actually think, like, the reality of the situation is Ten Hag might be out. Like that. I can't believe, for all the gas and PR that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's been doing about United, and he's been really honest and basically said we've been stinking it up. Like, he's been basically talking about it, like keeping it real, like a United fan, and just saying we've been absolutely shocking. He's not going to be allowing us to lose at home to Fulham. He's not going to be allowing us to lose to City. And if we lose to you guys and lose to Liverpool and lose to all these guys, I can't see a world where Ten Hag keeps his job. We're not playing well, and we've lost 16 games already this season in all comps, and like 11 in the Prem.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Yeah.
I think 17 is the most you've ever lost in a season as well. So I think he's getting close to breaking a record for you as well.
Mate, there's a lot of records he owns. I'll tell you. When he leaves Man United, there's quite a few ball-headed records on our team. Yeah, exactly. Something about these follically challenged guys at Man United just don't work out, man. Amrabat, Ten Hag, his assistant. Yeah, we need to get the coneheads out. But yeah.
I think. I mean, my viewpoint on it is like it shouldn't be said whether he's out or not. Like, I think you're giving him to the end of the season, right? You're not going to sack him before that, because what good does that do? But I do think that the decision would have already been made. And I think that Ineos, if they're smart, just because Klopp comes out and says that he's leaving at the end of the season, that's a completely different animal, right? You don't do that all the time, right? You do that when a good manager leaves so that you can try and get some PR to get the next one in, right? And to let everyone know, like, hey, we're on the lookout for a new manager. You don't typically do that when you're the opposite and you're not really having great performances. It just doesn't make sense, right? Because usually, like, the theory will tell you that your performances actually drop off if you announce it. When people can see the end of it, your performances tend to drop off by the end of it. People don't, as much as it seems intuitive that everyone plays up as a manager goes, actually it goes down a little bit if they've been not doing so well. So from my point of view, I think the decision will have already been made. And I think based off of what Ratcliffe has said about Man United's performances and just generally the Man United team as a whole, I don't think he's going to keep Ten Hag like after this season. So I think in my mind, he's probably interviewing other people. He's looking at other managers. He's probably saying to them, hey, come in at the end of the season, we'll give you XYZ budget. And I think other than that, he's going to keep Sturm, right? Like, just like with Omar Barada and all these other Dons, right? You're not going to go out there and start saying, I want this and I want that, because that's the exact problem that Man United have had for a long time, which is your leak city, right? Everything comes out at you very, very easily. So from my point of view, I don't think we even need to speculate about whether Ten Hag's future is this, that, or the other. I think Ineos will have made a decision already, and whatever happens is going to happen at the end of the season. I don't think they're going to come out and announce it now. And Gary Neville, whatever he's talking about, he needs to be quiet, because that's not how things work. You don't announce that you're firing a manager at the end of the season, right? If the manager wants to leave, then maybe you do say that. You say, you know what, Klopp, let's make an announcement. Let's get everyone together. Let's bind everyone together, but also at the same time allow us to go and start looking after other people. I don't think that's going to happen in this situation. So I think people need to just settle down about, oh, you need to announce now if you're going to keep Ten Hag or not. Mate, you've got to fight. You've got to fight to the end of the season. It doesn't help anyone to start speculating on who's the next manager going to be and have all of that nonsense coming out, while Ten Hag is still here. Ten Hag already seems to be the kind of guy that wants to keep everything under wraps, right? He won't even tell people what injuries are. So I very much doubt he would be happy with everyone speculating on who's going to be the next manager while he's still in there and he's got to answer all the questions about it. That's not happening. So whether he's in or out,
it does happen at other places though. If you look at Bayern, yeah, like Bayern have announced Tommy Tukes has gone,
and I don't think that that's a great decision either though, because that basically writes it off and says, you know what, we're done this season, which I don't think is the right attitude to have. I think you should be fighting to the very end. Internally, if you want to tell him like, yo, you're not lasting. But I don't think Bayern is the case study to say that this works. It might happen, but I think it's a stupid decision to make. So
yeah, I think they've done it to match what Klopp and the Liverpool thing, so they can get in on Xabi early.
Yeah,
right?
that's probably
It's a charm offensive for Xabi. It's basically saying, look, Xabi's battered us so much this season. We're not going to win the Bundesliga, so we're sacking our manager and we're coming for you, old boy. We're coming to get you, and we're going to rival Liverpool.
But they can also do that in private as well. You know, like it doesn't have to be announced to the public. I think to me, I think the reason why they've done that to Tuchel is because they're like there's a falling out between them, and they want to embarrass Tuchel a little bit and say, you know what, Tuchel, you're not staying.
It's both,
and we're going to tell everyone that you're not staying. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of both in there, but I think that it's also an embarrassment thing that they're trying to do at the same time, and it wouldn't put it past me if Bayern did that, because they are a mafioso of the Bundesliga.
They're German dons. They know what they're doing, man.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think also the reason why maybe Man U won't do that yet is because, and someone was saying it, I can't remember on what show it was that I saw earlier today, but the idea was a lot of these DOFs and a lot of the progressive like football people that you're seeing in like the hierarchies of these successful football clubs, the style of football that they would look to play, a lot of people before this period, Ten Hag at United, would have looked at Ten Hag as one of those kind of managers, right? That has been his CV and his track record. So a lot of people have speculated that maybe Ineos will actually look at him a little bit kinder and say, look, even though things are disastrous right now, you've been part of an absolutely rotten structure. And even though you're making all these bookie decisions and doing all these weird things, we might give you like a little bit of time, because these DOFs and Barada and all these guys were probably looking at you as, like maybe a future City manager before if Pep was going to leave, because you play a certain way. And they've got a belief that, of the people on the market, if you were still at Ajax right now and you were involved in this market, you might be the top candidate for us to want to go and get to play the style of football we want. So we might actually just say, you know what, we've come in halfway through the season. This is an absolute sinking ship. We're going to fix it, and we're going to give you a shot when it's been fixed to try and go and do stuff. And if you can't do anything next season, then you're Rapskis. You've been given 3 years at the club. You've been given 1 year with us while we built some structure around you, and you're done. And you know what? That could also be true, bro. Like, I understand the logic with that, but it really depends on the point you made about Tommy Tuchel and Bayern. It really depends on what's going on in the background with Ten Hag's relationships with some of the players they want to keep, right? Like if he's having a falling out with Jadon Sancho and they've decided Sancho needs to go anyway, they won't care. But if they decide, for example, that Rashford is going to be the poster boy, which I hope they haven't decided this already, by the way, but how he's been moving Players Tribune and all that, which we haven't talked about, right? And Ten Hag doesn't have a good relationship with Rashford anymore, something like that, they might just decide, you know what, scratch what I just said just now. It's too toxic in here. We're going to get you out, right? A la Jose Mourinho style when he was, trying to force Pogba and Martial out. So who knows, man? But I agree with you. The press are going to be pressing. The media are going to be mediating. And everyone wants to know what's going on at United with all this Ineos stuff more now probably than ever before. And Gary Neville and all those guys, in the know want to get to know more. And I actually like it if things keep quiet like they did with the Barada move and no one knew about it. And, probably same with the Ashworth stuff. It kind of only came out when they'd already got Ashworth to agree, really, and go on gardening leave. I hope that's how it goes, man. And I hope we don't hear things, which is part of the reason. Let's quickly, before we go into the Arsenal, about the Rashford thing. This thing has been so polarizing. It's either people are like absolutely twerking for him to try and back him up, right? And doing like over the top things where you can't question his performance. This is a scapegoat and just pointing out like racism and stuff like that from the media to like question his performances. And then you've got other people that if Rashford like, you know, breathes on them or gives, you know, them a look in not the way that they would want to get looked at, they want him out the club and he's terrible and he's all the things are wrong with him. He can't go out and do all these things. It's just so polarizing. And I don't know why he did that Tribune. Honestly, and it's not because I'm like, you know, shut up and dribble LeBron stuff. I totally disagree with that. But it just feels like he doesn't know how to read the room and understand the right time to do things. It's like, you know, after the last City game, he went out and partied. The Northern Ireland stuff, this stuff. Like, I just feels like he always picks the complete opposite of the right time, the worst time to do something, and just goes and does it. He's not helping himself.
I just don't think he's thinking about anything but himself.
Yeah.
And I think he realizes like Man United not been doing too well. It's not a good time in the middle of all of the bad results to try and pull something out of the Players Tribune and all that. So I think he like waited for it to kind of the results to pick back up again, and then he's going to come out and say, "Here's why I've been so terrible. Leave me alone," basically. So I just think it's like personal branding, and I think that I'm not trying to say it in a mean way, but I think Rashford is not only a player, but he's also a brand and a machine, and he's got people in the background telling him to do X, Y, Z things, right? He just wants to be a guy to go and play. I personally don't think he's the one that's asking for Players Tribune articles. I think his management and the teams that are, you know, telling him what to do are telling him, you know, go and do this. Because if it's me, think about it, right? Like Eric Ten Hag is probably not very happy that came out. Like I mentioned before, he's a very private kind of guy. I don't think he wants anything about any of his players in any magazine or newspaper at all. I think he wants to keep everything quiet and under the wraps. And he talks when he needs to talk, and the players kind of echo his sentiment at all times. So from my point of view, I don't think this was done with Ten Hag's blessing, and that's where it screams to me. I don't think Rashford is dumb enough to go and do this off his own kind of volition. I think it's just his team telling him like, hey, you know, you might be on the market at the end of the season, or you might have to go somewhere else, or you might want to leave. Here's your chance to get your stock back up and kind of explain what goes on. So that's the way I see it. I might be wrong, but I don't think it was like Rashford just making a stupid decision. I think it's his team trying to tell him what to do to try and get him to increase his personal stock in the world and in the footballing world, given what might happen at the end of the season and beyond.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I think you could be right. I think previous PR activities and efforts would point in that direction. I think there's obviously the whole feed the kids stuff. I'm not saying I don't think that was Rashford's idea, but I do think that was, you know, that was a PR agency's effort together with people around him to get him to do that. I actually think this one, I'm leaning more towards the idea that this is Rashford trying to shush the haters. And because you know what? Some people have said, and the only people I've heard that have been quite fair about this have said, look, I don't care if Rashford goes out and parties. I don't even care if he does Player Tribune articles. I don't care if he's, you know, partying up in, you know, Barbados or Trini and Tobago or whatever, and, you know, doing all kinds of madness, going out with girls and doing all these kind of things. Don't care. Just when you get on the pitch, give it your all, try and play your best, and hopefully, you know, reach levels that you've reached before. And we'll live with all the rest because you're a celebrity. It's blessed. And you know what? That's exactly where I stand. I really don't care about all these things. But if you're not playing on the pitch like you actually care about the club, like that's what's going to get a lot of like the people who sit in the middle and are being fairly rational and fair about it, and then like Rashford, by the way, go, what is going on? You're doing these things, fair enough. You're a celebrity, you're a young guy. Why are you not doing your meat and potatoes, your bread and butter, the stuff that you're being, you know, paid all of this money to do? Fight for the badge, try your best to play well. This is why, you know, when people were saying 0015 or whatever for Højlund, a lot of United fans were not getting onto him, even though he was missing some chances and, you know, things weren't going great. It never looked like he wasn't giving his all. it actually looked like he was probably trying too hard at sometimes, right? Whereas with Rashford, it's not. And if he'd have come out in this interview and said, the reason why I don't track, the reason why I don't run, the reason why it doesn't look like I'm actually giving a shit is for tactical reasons. If he'd actually said something that would have actually been fairly useful for the fans to know, and then he'd said, then there's all these people out there hating on me, which I agree with, by the way. I have no problem with them like clapping back at those people. Then I think it would be okay. But to not offer any context, to say all of that stuff, to talk all that grease, and then continue to play on the pitch the way you are, I think like you're just alienating all the people that would actually support you and back you, and the majority of the fan base that love you and just want you to play well for the club. You're alienating them. All you're going to have are those people that are kind of like caping for him already because for whatever reason, they're just going to support Rashford regardless, right? Whatever he does. Those are the only people you're going to have left. And there's not a lot of those people in the fan base. You'll end up being hounded out, and it will end really sadly for, obviously he is a United youngster. He did come through the academy. There were times in the early part of his career where it looked like he really cared and it meant everything to him. So for it to go, very left off the back of his form over the last 3 years or so, would be really sad. But yeah, I don't know whether it's him or whether it's his people advising him. He needs to start making better decisions on the pitch and stop thinking so much about his decisions off the pitch. Because it's definitely where things are wearing thin with a lot of the fans, and it's already getting a little bit ugly. But let's go on to a game that you're going to be really happy to talk about. One that we've just seen a little bit earlier today. Absolute demolition. Sheffield United 0, Arsenal 6. I think a lot of us were joking and saying, what's the score going to be? Get the predictions out because you're going to absolutely batter them. But you know what? I don't know if you watch Monday Night Football, but Thierry Henry was bricking it a bit at the beginning. He was, I don't like these kind of games. These are the kind of games where things, you kind of expect to just turn up and slap them, and then, they can go real left really quickly. And it was almost felt like Dave Jones, a presenter on Sky, was kind of like trying to encourage Thierry and be like, yeah, but what if Arsenal score an early goal? Won't that, cheer you up? And Thierry's like, oh, yeah. If we score an early goal, then, I think it's pretty much rap skis for Sheffield United. And boom, not only did he score one early goal, he scored 4 in the first 25 minutes and ran out 6-0 winners. What did you make of it, Johns?
And I thought it was unbelievable. And my quick comment on the whole Thierry thing is that I think that shows you he's an actual Arsenal fan, because he's sat in the same camp as everyone else, just like, we need to do something, we need to win something, and these are the kind of games that trip us up sometimes. These are the kind of games where we just don't turn up. So I can completely understand his sentiment, and it's when we're making predictions and you're trying to tell me that I should be more positive. That is what that's what I'm feeling like. I'm feeling like Thierry at all times with this team. So I get where he's coming from, but yeah, I mean, it was an unbelievable game, and I would turn my head for 1 second and we've scored another one. I'd turn my head for another second, I scored another one, and it just kept going non-stop. And at a certain point, I was thinking this is going to be like a 9-10-0. But, as usual, obviously, like at a certain point, we kind of just relax a little bit, and Sheffield really fix up and stop letting us get so many opportunities. But we were playing unbelievable football. And one thing I want to make a big comment about is that the thing that really excited me about the play that we had today is that there was so much like give and go. It was like one touch football, I'm going to move over there. One touch football, we're going to move. And I was seeing like Rice was really pulling strings in that same way that he does a lot of the time. And I think this is the benefit of having Jorginho next to him, is that he can actually make some progressive runs forward. And I was seeing him link up with Odegaard. I was seeing him link up with Martinelli. I was seeing him link up with Saka and Havertz. And it was that kind of play reminded me of the old school, like the Wilshere goal and stuff like that, where he's playing quick 1-2 football around a team that is relatively static and is not able to deal with all of like the players moving and shifting so quickly. And we ended up just creating so many spaces and allowing, our wingers essentially to just cross balls in over and over again, low balls. And it fell to the right people, like Odegaard. How many times has Odegaard done that this season, where it's like a late arrival into the box, the ball somehow gets to him and he just, left foot, bottom right corner, finished. And it was it was unbelievable to see, because that's the kind of football that I actually really like to watch. I don't like watching this Man City style of football where we just keep pushing forward and then we pull back and then push forward and then pull back and push forward and pull back until we finally get a chance. I wanted to see us like, let's string some passes together. Let's get some one-touch, quick football together, and let's try and get ourselves into the area where we can just try and finish one. And man, I can't say anything more about the style of football I watched today. Like the style of football was unbelievable, and it's the exact style I wish that we played at all times. Because, what did we score any goals from set pieces? Like everyone wants to talk about set piece goals, bro. All of those ones were just like one touch, quickly. So from that perspective, I was really, really happy with it. So I think generally speaking, it's the exact way that we should be playing against a team like Sheffield United, who are almost certain to go down at this point. So yeah, I can't complain at all. I think Odegaard, Rice, Martinelli were all really, really good. Particularly Martinelli, I feel like, obviously there's been things said about him this season. I've been one of the big kind of people to try and big him up and say, he's not getting the support that he was getting last season. You just need to give him some time. He was unbelievable today, causing a lot of problems for them. He's one of the big kind of key parts of that, like pass and run, pass and move type of, play that we were doing. Obviously, Rice was class. I feel like this is probably one of the best performances I've seen Rice have in an Arsenal shirt, which is difficult to say because he's had quite a lot. And then, Havertz, man, like when Havertz is looking clinical, then I don't know what's going on with the world. So at that point, just I'm really happy with everyone. Like out of everyone, I'd say like Saka was probably the one in the first half that wasn't really doing all that much. Obviously got an assist, and I did hear afterwards that he was kind of sick, so he went off kind of early. But yeah, that whole performance was unbelievable. It was great that we get a little run out for Fabio Vieira and Thomas Partey and a couple of other folks. So I think it was class, man. It was exactly the way that we need to be.
This episode is brought to you by Hyperice, the leader in advanced warm-up and recovery technology. They have tons of innovative products, like Venom-heated wearables to help soothe sore back muscles, Normatec compression boots to speed up recovery and increase circulation, and Hypervolt massage guns to improve mobility. Loved by athletes like Naomi Osaka and Erling Haaland. Try them yourself. Get 10% off your order with the code MOVE at hyperice.com.
Treating a game like that, and especially when you're playing it up against a team that is not just going to sit back and low block you, we've got to be doing some of that passing and movement to try and break through. And all in all, 10 out of 10. I'm loving that. Keep doing that. If I've got to go away for more time and come back to this, then I'll do it if I have to. So just keep it up, Arsenal.
Man, be doing those long distance flights to Mexico and back every couple of weeks. But I agree with you, man. I actually thought Saka was good in the first half. Actually, I kind of get what you're saying, but like every single time he got the ball out on the wing, he just like shimmy one touch past. I think it was Austin Trusty who was playing left back, and like every touch he took was just he was past Trusty and like onto to square it back or cut back to someone who was making a run from midfield. Like he was deadly. Like, I know he's going to go down as one assist, but I think the second goal, the own goal, or no, the first goal was the own goal. No, the second goal was the own goal. Odegaard scored the first goal. The second own goal, the Bogle own goal, that was him crossing it back. I think he also cut back for Declan Rice as well. So really, he's got 2 assists. I thought he was really good, but I hear you. Martinelli,
he just looked a little bit tired. That's my main thing about him. He's quite a high energy player, and he looked quite tired in that game. I can understand that he was sick, so
yeah,
makes sense to me.
I mean, I wouldn't even be shocked if he wasn't sick and they were just like, we're going to give him some rest. Like, if there's a player that needs some rest on your team, get Saka off. If you're 5-0 up, get Saka off. I hear it. I'd be doing it too. If I was 5-0 up, I'd take Saka off, I'd take Odegaard off, I'd take a bunch of players off and just ride it out until the end of the second half, because essentially you did that. Like, you gave quite a few players some game time. I would have got everyone on that could and rest up all the other players. I guess the only thing is you guys actually don't have many games left in this month. So I understand, like, keep them on and give them as much game time as possible. Maybe Saka was sick, so it was kind of something that you had to do. But no, I agree with you, bro. I think Odegaard was amazing again. I feel like this is probably like the 5th, like his upturn in form. I know he wasn't poor before, but I'm saying like he's reaching levels that were similar to last year, if not better. Actually, I think in terms of performance, right, it's actually coincided completely with all these spankings you've been giving everyone. So every single game that you've spanked someone, Odegaard has been absolutely conducting it. And he was amazing in this game as well. All the little one-touch passes that you're talking about, I hear you about Martinelli, but every time I looked up, Odegaard was doing a little one-touch pass with Saka, a little one-touch pass with Havertz, with someone around him.
Yeah, he was in the link. It was him,
beautiful.
Rice, Havertz. All of our attackers, Martinelli included, they were all linking up with this one-touch football. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was great. And like you said, when Havertz is doing these things as well and finishing bloody Dimitar Berbatov at the end, it's looking good for you, man. And Sheffield United could have held 8 or 9 or 10. I think you made a concerted effort to just chill out in the second half and take it easy, because Ben White was slapping one in with his left foot from the outside of the box or the edge of the box or whatever. I think after that they were like, all right, we can calm down, because actually I think Chris Wilder and Arteta are mates as well. So I think there was some form of respect there where I was like, all right, we've gained a big plus.
We're not going to embarrass you too much.
We've gained a big +6 in the goal difference. We'll chill now. We'll tranquilo from this point and calmer, and we'll leave here with 6. So I think you guys were great, man. And yeah, the Arsenal train keeps rolling on. You keep keeping pace with the big dogs, with Liverpool and Man City. Still 2 points behind. I think you guys can actually go first because you play. You're first up out of the.
Yeah, we play first.
You're first up out of the in the 3-horse races. Obviously, Liverpool play Man City next weekend, so any result in that is a good one for you, because if they both draw, you're top and you stay top. If City win, you leapfrog at least Liverpool, and you can get close to City, and you've got to play them, right? Which you can then reverse that deficit as well. I guess if Liverpool win, that's the only one where it gets a bit tricky, because it's still totally in their hands, because you don't play them again this season. And I think Liverpool's only kind of tricky games. I think they've got Spurs at home, they've got us away, where we might be able to pull it out of our asses, but they haven't got that many. I've looked at the run-in, and I think City have got the hardest run-in. You've got the second hardest run-in, and then Liverpool have probably got the easiest out of the 3. So yeah, man, it's going to be a really interesting time. But yeah, I want to ask you. I'm going to keep asking you every week. 7 wins in a row, unbeaten in the Prem in 2024, plus 30 whatever goals in these 7 games or whatever. Are you still going to do the Jose Mourinho little horse underdog story with me? Or are you actually going to admit that you guys are really looking absolutely stinky at the moment? What are you saying?
It's two different questions, right? So the first point is are we still underdogs? Yes, we are. Because if this was Tottenham and Aston Villa in front of us, then yeah, fine. They haven't got the pedigree. We're talking about Liverpool and Man City, who are both known to go on disgusting runs forever, apparently. We've got a team that just won the treble last year, and the other team that is now fighting for their manager like no one's business. I mean, yes, we're still underdogs, just because how many points do you expect them to drop?
Well,
and how many points do you expect us to drop, right? From that point of view, yes, maybe Man City have got a tougher run, but we've got a lot of hard teams to play as well. We've got to go play Tottenham. We've got Chelsea at the end of the season. I know they're not the greatest team. We've got to play a couple of other hard matches. Obviously, we've got Man City as well. So I think we're still underdogs, but are we slapping teams? Are we on fire? Yes, we are. And we're doing exactly what we've got to do if we want to try and get close to any of those 2 teams, man. If we want to win the league, we have to play like this for the rest of the year. When we beat City 4-0 or something like that, and we start slapping teams that are of a much higher quality, then I'll start going bigger. But we're slapping Sheffield United, we're slapping West Ham. We're not slapping the biggest teams in the world, right? We couldn't beat bloody Porto the other day. So from that point of view, we're still underdogs, but we are on fire, and we're doing exactly what we need to do to put pressure on one of them 2 teams so that they don't realize this is just a 2-horse race between me and them. Because that's the last thing I want to see. I don't want to see by the end of the season we've dropped off and it's been it's been a foregone conclusion that it's going to be one of the 2 teams in front of us. I want us to push one or both of those teams to the absolute limit. And we've got to be playing like this every single week from now on out to really do that. Right? If we beat every team from now on 6-0, we could still go and lose the league, which is ridiculous. Right? It's ridiculous to say, but it's the truth. Because Liverpool and City could both go and beat everyone.
True. if you win every game, you're still not destined to win because Liverpool could win every game and they'd still finish above you. But,
That's what I mean. Exactly.
But now I kind of hear you, but yeah, you're still being a little bit too calmer on you guys. Like I understand out of the three, you might be the third favorite, but I don't know if it's like when I think about underdog, I mean like it would be a shock. I don't like the way you guys are playing now. It would not be a shock if you won the league. It wouldn't, because like you actually playing like championship football. But obviously, it's going to come down to the fine margins. You've got to play City. You've got to see how this Liverpool City one go. If you get the right result in that, man, and you win against Brentford, I think you guys should be talking about you must with this season.
But you've got to bear this in mind, right? Like if we had played the whole season like this, then fine. But like again, we're doing not prisoner of the moment type of stuff. But before this run, we were losing games and we were dropping points and we were doing stupid stuff and losing to Fulham and doing whatever else. So if the season was just the last 7, no, they are good apparently. If the season was just the last 7 games, then yeah, of course I'd be like bigging it up and saying, you know, we're unstoppable. Just kind of like last season, we were so like flawless for so long. People got crazy and we were like, yeah, we're gonna win this. We're the best, you know, whatever. And look what ended up happening, right?
It scarred you.
The season is 38. It's 38 games, right? And we've been for at least 5 of them this season, right? So from that point of view,
that's a good ratio.
You know, seven wins it is a great ratio if we were playing in Italy or if we're playing somewhere where you could actually beat a bloody two, like the 2 best teams in the league. But unfortunately, we play against Man City and Liverpool, who are just unstoppable juggernauts at this point in time. So. That's the only thing that gets me, man. Like if this was a different era and we didn't have City and Liverpool there, and I don't even want to put Liverpool in the category, to be honest with you. It's really City I'm talking about here.
Too much,
right?
Too much respect.
Like if we were playing in a different era where you didn't have City and it was just Liverpool, it was a couple teams of Liverpool stature, then yeah, fine, I'd be a bit bigger up on it. But like this Man City team and the fact that they're getting Haaland and De Bruyne starting to cook again, and now Foden's coming out and trying to show me that I'm an asshole because I said Saka's better than them. Like all of this stuff, right, bro? Like I can't, in good faith, say that we have to or must win anything with them 2 teams around, like, and mainly that one team.
No, you must. But let's get on to the.
That's what you say, because you lot have all got an agenda.
No, I want Arsenal to win. I keep saying no. I keep saying it. I genuinely
well, then
want Arsenal to win.
You should be like me. You should be like me and under expect, so that you don't put too much pressure on this team. You know that they'll crumble like a bloody Jacob's cracker.
No, you don't.
If everybody's telling them that they're supposed to win, bro.
Not anymore, man.
No, don't say that. What have we won last season? Last season we had all that expectation, and it was in the press, and everyone was going mental on it. Yeah. And look what happened.
You learned your lessons.
They fell apart like toilet paper and water.
You learned your lessons, bro.
This season, we learned your lessons. Where? What proof have you got?
No,
of that?
The way you're playing right now, you've learned lessons.
At Christmas, we were top.
Yeah, that's okay.
At Christmas, we were top by some margin.
Yeah,
right?
that's okay.
And again, big expectations. And what happened? We started absolutely fluffing it.
No, that's okay.
So
you're timing it,
bro. This team is not as strong as you think it is. Everyone, just hold off on your predictions. Let us get to the final day of the season, and it's on like 1 game's result. Then you can start doing what you want, man. Let us at least win one first before you start telling us we have to win one.
No. What I said. Remember, let's wind it back. Don't get sucked in by the. I'm not trying to hook, line, and sink you now. I'm saying if that Liverpool Man City result goes the way you want it to, right? Which I'm guessing you probably want either City to win or a draw would be ideal. You beat Brentford, then you've got that. You've essentially got the shootout with City on the last game of March. You probably will know, and that was my other question, right? That's on the little outline thing. You'll probably know by April whether this race is going to go to the wire for you guys, or whether it should be a 3-horse race. I reckon by April, right? You'll have a good gauge, because all the big head-to-heads, you would have all played each other twice. You'll all kind of like know where the table sits. Either one of you will drop off, or if it's like packed like it is now, then bloody hell. The last 2 months will keep going right down to the wire. It might go down to the last game of the season. But if you get the results you want and you're top at the end of all of those games and you've got it in your hands, then I'm feeling more confident as a pseudo Arsenal fan, since I hate the other 2 more, right? I'd feel happy, man. I'd be musting because you'd be at the top.
I understand.
And you're peaking at the right time.
We've got to play Villa.
Fuck Villa.
Yeah, but we have to play Villa.
Fuck
We have to
Villa.
play them, and then we have to play Tottenham. We have to play Tottenham at White Hart Lane, or sorry, at the whatever the stadium's called now.
Tottenham Hotspur
And we
Stadium.
have to play you lot at Old Trafford, right? Like we've got 3 teams. As stinky as you lot are, playing against you, you get up for it against the big teams, right? So I don't want to hear that, like, because it's as if none of the other teams that we play against have got any like skin in the game. As if
No, they will
if Tottenham aren't going to be trying to fight to get into top 4 at that point. As if Aston Villa don't want to try and win and get into the top 4. So yes, of course,
But you can beat Villa.
We could be more in the race by the time it's like the 31st of March, right? If City have beaten or drawn with Liverpool, and we've been flawless since then, beat Brentford, beat Chelsea, whatever, and we get to that game and we're top and we've just got to play Man City away, then yes, I'm going to be more optimistic about it. But there's still too many things I can see on this fixture list that'll trip us up, man.
No, I'm saying after the City game. I'm not saying before the City game. I think you're still
yeah.
You're still
Even after the City, I agree. If we're top of the league with a couple points margin after that City game, then my expectations were going to go up.
Yeah,
because as good as Villa are, as good as Tottenham are, as good as you are, we should beat all of you. So fair enough. Yeah. I'll give you that. But yeah, like until those very large assumptions come true, then I'm not big on any of that.
Yeah, but be excited, man. Who is it? One of your executives, right? Was it Kroenke? Josh Kroenke said, "Be excited, y'all. Be excited, man." And he was saying it like when he took over as a CEO. He was like, "We're gonna be up there with Bayern Munich, man. Be excited, man. You need to be excited, bro. Come on, 6-0, 5-1, 4-1, 5-0. I dream for days like this.
Conflate two. Yeah, I used to pray for times like this. I get you, but right. We're not conflating 2 separate points, right? I'm happy that we battered Sheffield United. Does it mean that I'm big up on us winning the title? No.
Come on, man. Come on. We need to get some AFTV spirit going.
Get your crazy optimism out of here, man.
All right. That's enough of the fixtures. I've managed to somehow cheer myself up after losing all the Premier League games that we're talking about this week for my team. But let's talk about the previews then. So, game week 28. I think we're both at home this coming weekend. Man United Everton, I think it's the 12:30, so Jurgen Klopp kickoff time, 12:30 on TNT Sports, playing Daesh and the Blue Scousers. I thought they were picking up a little bit, but they've had a couple of stinky results since you've been gone. And even though they got, didn't they get like 4 points back from?
They got points back. They got 4 points back. That's the only pickup that they've had.
Yeah, but their results have been
the last couple games.
Poor. And now that 4 points back doesn't look that great. And it kind of looks like, thank God they got the 4 points back. Because if they didn't, like Luton might be opening up a bit of space between them. But I've got to be honest. If we can't beat Everton at home the way they're playing, I'll just pack it in, man. I think I'll stop drinking. I think I'll stop drinking from my United mug that I've had since I've been about 10 years old or whatever. I think I'm going to just permanently pack away all my Man United shirts in a suitcase and put them in the shed or something. I'm just gonna take a football break. I might go on loan. I'm gonna go on loan to Arsenal for the rest of the season, so I can give you guys some optimism to win the title. But yeah, we got.
They by the way, they haven't won a Premier League game since December 16th, mate.
There you go. Another
against Burnley.
That's another record for Ten Hag to break. I bet you. Check the last time they won at Old Trafford. That's probably forever ago as well. Or maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Let's
even.
have a little look.
Maybe not even. I feel like I can remember the last time they did beat us. It was recently. I feel like they've got some draws at Old Trafford recently, but I don't know if they've beaten us there for a while. But yeah.
No, they haven't beaten you they haven't beaten you since 2013 at Old Trafford in the league.
Okay, so that's 11 years. All right. So
they've drawn a couple of times. You've given them draws, a 3-3 draw in 2021.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was Ollie. We were like 3-1 up until
Ollie's at the wheel.
we were 3-1 up until the last 20 minutes or something, and then Calvert-Lewin scored a late goal, and that Ben Godfrey told us to F off into the camera, and all the fans were like, "We hate you, mate. We're gonna find you, you little." But I think we should win, but it's probably going to be a smelly one. So I'm going to go 2-1 Man United, but yeah, I reckon this is one of those ones where it's got stinky result all over it. But definitely performance-wise, it's going to reek. But I just got to hope that Everton are just about bad enough that we can get the W. What do you think?
I'm actually going to go 3-1 for you because I think you stink, but they stink more. So I think you're going to beat them because you're at home as well. I feel like you'll get something back out of it. Like you weren't horrible against City, right? You weren't great against any of the last 3 teams that you've played, but I still think you got enough quality to put them away because, man, they stink. They genuinely stink. So, yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 United. There you go. Have a bit of that, mate.
All right.
Now I'm being optimistic on your behalf.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
How does it feel?
That's what I need. Is when you're negative on us, that's just too much judge. When we go one step too far, it's just no way we can come back. But now, yeah, I hope so, man. Like 6th, that'll be such a disappointing season. I don't think we're going to win the FA Cup, but if we can at least pull up a fight, man, and try and get close to 5th and 4th, and make it respectable, then I won't be happy, but I won't be more angry about the situation than I currently am. You know what I mean? I can keep going at this current level. Let's go on to the Arsenal-Brentford game then. By the way, I do think it kind of, last thing on the United one, it probably does depend a little bit whether Rasmus Højlund's back. If Højlund's back, I'm probably going to have a little bit more faith because he was just getting going. If he's not back, then I think, probably my 2-1's probably a bit more realistic than your 3-1. I could see the 3-1 or better happening if Højlund's back, but if not, it might be a Scott McTominay double or something along those lines that gets us over the line. Arsenal-Brentford, I'm going to be super short and quick, short and sweet with this. I'm going to go 5-1 Arsenal. And I think Ivan Toney's going to score the 5th goal, and then he's going to go and kiss the Arsenal badge on one of your fans' shirts in the crowd. I think you're absolutely going to slap them. We're talking to Everton stink. Brentford stink. They've been so poor. I don't know how they got a 2-2 against Chelsea. That just shows how inconsistent Chelsea are. But my God, Brentford are terrible. At the moment, they look so bad. Even with Tony in there. Like, just all-time smelly. And they're getting pulled into the relegation a bit as well, man. They're just on the edges. If they keep this poor form going, and they've got Malpai out there rattling people's cages, but not actually, doing anything on the pitch. And I think they've lost. Didn't they lose a couple of players to like long-term injuries? Isn't like Pinnock out for the rest of the season? A couple of their
possibly
quite important people have been out for a while. And I think I can't see a world where you guys don't hit at least 4 goals against them. So I'm going to go 5-1. What about you?
I'm going 4-2. I still think that Tony's good enough to get goals against us, and I think he's the right kind of striker to get goals against us because he's quite physical. That's kind of, I think, how you have to play against the 2 centre-backs that we've got. So I think we're still going to continue scoring because I don't... One thing about Brentford is that they are very tactical, right? Like their manager is... I like Thomas Frank. He is really good, I think. And I think he's got the right mentality to try and look at the way that we play and try and set up well against us. But I think that we're just going to have a little bit too much firepower for that match. As you say, they've got Ethan Pinnock out. They've got Mbeumo out, who's been like leading the charge when Tony hasn't been there. Ben Mee's out. They've got loads of players out. So
Ben Mee's out.
Exactly. They've got, Rico Henry even is out. I know he's not the most important player, but he was definitely doing bits earlier in the season. So from that point of view, I think it will probably have a little bit too much firepower for them. And I think they've got too many injuries at the back to really sustain anything against us. But I do still think that they've got enough quality going forward to get nick a couple of goals against us. So I'm going to go 4-2. I'm hoping it'll be another clean sheet because I need Gabriel's FPL points, but I'm going to be realistic here and say 4-2.
I can't see any world where Brentford score 2. Like, not against your defense, man. Not against your defense. I think who is it? Rio's been going absolutely buck wild, by the way, while you've been gone. I know we've mentioned him on a few other pods before, but he's been taking the crazy shouts to an absolute another level recently. But he did make a point about Gabriel and Saliba are his favourite pair. and he thinks this season they've proven to be the Premier League's best defensive pair. And I completely agree, bro. We've been saying that even when things were a bit shaky, like your centre back still looked good. Like it wasn't their fault that things were going wrong.
Yeah.
Either Raya was doing a madness, or occasionally Saliba maybe contributed to some things, but it was never like a howler from him or anything like that. It was always things kind of around them that was causing issues. They've always been solid as hell. And that Gabriel and Saliba partnership is I think Rio's got that one on the money. He's made some crazy shouts and or he's been clipped up crazy. I don't know completely. I've never watched the whole videos to know the complete context, but that's actually on point. And Rio, you'd think Rio knows a good defender and a good defensive pair.
He does.
And I think he's on the money. So I can't see Brentford scoring 2. Like they might get one, like Newcastle got one in garbage time, or Tony gets a penalty or something like that. But I can't see them scoring 2. I think that will be absolutely... honestly, I think they'd be absolutely happy if they got 2. And I think the only way they do is if it goes a bit like one of the earlier games at the Emirates where it's a bit closer. So I think if you win, at the moment, you've got a pattern where you win like absolutely resoundingly, or it's kind of nip and tuck. So if they score 2, it's probably a 3-2 or a 2-2 or something like that, or you just absolutely pulverize teams. But yeah, that's it for the predictions. Let's hope both of ours come true, because like I said, we need to get solidify 6th place, and we need you guys to get the title, so we don't live through a terrible summer with either City or the Scousers talking about being Premier League winners. So yeah, let's see how it goes, and that's it. We can wrap up for this week, Jonts. It's been good to have you back, bro, back from the Mexican shores. And yeah, we'll make sure you guys tune into the episode next week, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right, thanks, Ant. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Sports Social Podcast Network.